Hello everyone, this is Bob and Threadbare, and welcome back to the Human Revolution.
Mr. Jensen, your limo has arrived. You ready to leave?
Yeah, let's go.
Great. Detroit local. This is Sarah Industries Bravo Echo Echo 008, continuing on.
Just gotta get on my perch here on the engine. I just wanted to show that off. You know, I didn't fail to edit that out. That's not what happened at all. Right, anyway, so we've been dispatched to this abandoned factory because there's been some odd activity coming here, and it seems to be the source of the transmission that hacked Seraph Industries.
Richard, you got coordinates on the factory yet?
I was only able to pinpoint an approximate area, Jensen. So scout around and look for anything unusual. I'll keep monitoring the frequency in case it suddenly goes active.
Well, luckily there are buildings and chicken wire in the way for everything except for two directions, and this door appears to not work. Which is kind of funny, because apparently there's something behind it. Anyway, the map only goes in one direction, yonder. So I guess we know which factory we're going to be exploring. But that there is the way forward. Until then, we gotta do some exploring. Oh, hey. Gangsters.
I ain't gonna mess with them boys. You look like you could give them a run. Send a few home in a bag. That'll teach you to mess around with us. And you?
Yo, some guy with a scope is watching the slums. Keep your head down. We do the job, but they're sporting some heavy shit.
Interesting skyline they've got here.
Yo, what's good, man? You looking for some new toys? I can make you a good deal.
I could use some information.
I could tell you some shit for sure. What you want to know?
You guys seen anything suspicious going down around here?
Suspicious ain't the word, man. All types of caravans moving in and out of here. They're going all out.
Who is they?
Well, that's the problem. These motherfuckers ain't consistent for real. The feds were buying up all the land from the textile manufacturers until about a month ago. That's when some started going down in this bitch. Something real. What you call it before?
Suspicious.
Word, suspicious. Something real suspicious started happening. These spec ops moved into the factory and started running some sort of major operation. They picked off my brother for trying to set up shop in the area. Rest in peace, Big Rizzle.
Yeah, rip. These spec ops still around?
Yeah, no doubt. They got a patrol unit in the courtyard, and they got snipers on the roof and shit. Thing is, I saw some government vans lurking around, so it looks like they be moving their party somewhere else and making way for the feds once again.
Thanks.
All good. Anything else?
Might be a good idea to stock up. What do you have?
Shit, son. We got some hot items right now. Check it out. What you need?
What's this special upgrade here? Ooh.
Good idea. Here you go, son. Anything else?
And that grenade pack sounds interesting.
I'll take a grenade pack.
Good choice, son. Anything else?
I could use some more ammo.
Don't really need ammo, but I was just curious to see what he had.
I'm good for now. Thanks for the offer.
All good, son. Peace. And watch your back.
Alright, we got 2 new grenade types from that guy. And the target leading system, which is going straight into the tranquilizer rifle. Here's the gas grenade, EMP. Now, gas grenade is basically you hit an area and human enemies get knocked right out. I mean, it says it's CS gas, which means it should just sort of choke them off, but it knocks them unconscious instead. EMP grenades, now that disables augmented enemies, and it instantly kills robotic enemies. Pretty nice. But yeah, these gangsters right here are the reason why in the last area we were seeing so much of FEMA agents in the police department We're trying to incite a gang war, basically to distract these guys from moving into this area. And I've tried jumping over to that, by the way, but it turns out it's insubstantial. Instead, the reason to come up here is to jump down here, grab some revolver ammo. You know, we could have gotten a revolver from Ezekiel if we'd knocked him out, but I don't think I've actually had the chance to pick one up, aside from that. Uh-oh. I wonder if those trucks use biodiesel, since apparently the oil economy crashed.
We've been compromised. Manderley was supposed to have that morgue locked down, but somebody got to the corpse before we did. We can still reconfigure, track this Yahoo down.
It's too late for that. It's time to clean up.
But what about the Dutchman?
No loose ends, Barrett.
I'll make the call.
Malik, get out of sight, now.
Why? What's going on?
They're here. The mercs who killed Megan and her team.
Fuck.
I'm going in.
Well, yeah, we're going in. Malik didn't even debate.
Orders are orders. Besides, we're about to pull out of
Ah, crap, I'm out of range. They're still talking, though. This is how to use invisibility, by the way. Tactically. But yeah. These are the mercenaries. They're in it, and they're in it deep. We are going to show no mercy. Time to change the rules of combat.
Nearing source of disturbance. We know someone's here. Keep looking.
Yeah, now the unfortunate part about the melee kill is that, oh wow, hello there.
Inside here.
Well, that was unfortunate. There goes all my health.
Bird sighting.
But yeah, so that was kind of an obvious mistake to make. But I'm operating under the rules of, if it doesn't actively kill me, then I'm going to go with it. Like, the only exception is that if they hit the alert panel, I may miss out on future conversations, so I may reset to stop that from happening.
Stand down. He got away. Clear up here. Stay alert. If he shows himself again, I stand down. He got away, but stay alert. Stay alert. If he shows himself again, I want him.
Weird.
No go.
Right, anyway. I figured I'd show off the back area here.
Anyone got him?
That one guy isn't quite alone
Can
enough.
we make sure?
One nice thing about being able to see through walls is that it goes well with the mark and track.
If he shows again, we make sure.
I'll take you. And yeah, of course, electricity, I'm immune to that, so, you know. Alright, looks like there are 4 guys left. And by the way, something interesting is that even though the melee kill is noisy, shooting someone in the head with a pistol, with a silenced pistol, is not. Still, there's just something so wonderfully visceral about the melee kill.
Go! Go! Double time!
Alright. Going back into the maze to hide.
Hostile is in the area. Form a search team.
And by the way, this is how you turn off the electricity. You can actually get to it by climbing on top of the transformers. So you can turn it off even if you aren't immune to electricity.
All clear. Back to your patrols and keep your eyes open.
Well, not that clear. Oh, that got both of their attentions. Oh, crap. Rounded the wrong corner. Oh yeah, something else you might have... Wrong button. Something else you might have noticed is that the mark and track system wears off if you kill someone. They also stop appearing on your see-through walls thing. But neither of these things is true if they are only unconscious. It's just an interesting note. Ah, crap. Damn it. That took way more bullets than I was planning. But yeah, they can actually hear the bullet ricochet if you hit, like, a piece of metal next to them.
Then I call it in.
So even if they don't hear the mechanism move when you shoot, they can hear that.
Footsteps.
Ah, damn it. There are different animations depending on if they're facing you or not. I was trying to get one of the ones where they're facing you, but apparently that was not meant to be. Oh well. There'll be future opportunities. And yeah, I'm picking up a stun gun again, even though I said I was done with those. There is one other thing I wanted to show off with that. Then I'll be done with it. Meanwhile, here's your first revolver if you don't kill or knock out Ezekiel. Now it's got better reload speed and damage output potential than the ordinary pistol. But most notably, you cannot silence a revolver. I mean, that is true in real life, too. Because the noise comes out of the chamber. So there's no real way to silence that. But yeah, that's why I'm sticking with an ordinary pistol, because it's still more versatile overall. And you can silence it and turn into a hidden god of death. Which I figure I'll probably be showing that off at some point, too. Right, anyway, here's one of the secret ways past all of these guys. So we go into the scaffolding here, around the sides, and then just over here is a door that'll take you to the roof. Hell, you don't even need the code. But hey, I got it from Ezekiel, so I might as well use it. Shotgun. Right, but I'm not done examining this courtyard area here yet. So that's what I'm gonna do. And Typhoon ammo. I think that's the first one you can find for free. Yeah, I'll be showing that off before the end of Detroit, too. And I guess you can't jump up there. Oh well. Can't have everything. That's doorway number 2 to get into the factory, by the way. That's the front entrance. And this here is the side entrance. Alright, let me just show you quick here. Like I was saying, you can use a box to climb up here, and then if you get the angle just right, you can use the breaker box. I mean, I suppose you could walk across using the boxes like I did before, but that takes a long time. Ah. Weird. Ooh. Now let's see here. Apparently NSF has stood for 3 things over the passage of time. Now, what can I drop for now? You. Laser targeting system on the pistol. Now I don't need to aim down the sights ever again. By the way, I heard something interesting about the laser sight. Apparently it kind of works poorly with the sniper rifle, because the sniper rifle is the kind of thing that you want to aim down the scope, but the laser sight does not line up with the scope sights. So it can get a little bit awkward with that. Alright, now up here we've got a sniper. Speak of the devil. But first let me get this guy and make a mental note that apparently this also is able to track computers and cameras through walls. Not just people. I mean, not everything, but not just people. Right, so always a good idea to get rid of the snipers first. Since they tend to be able to look in more directions even when they aren't alerted. You can see that guy using a laser sight to check things out, even though when we pick it up that weapon will not have a laser sight on it. See? Totally silent. What did I say? Anybody else down here? Ah, yes, there is. I think that might be it, though. Let's just take you a little further away from the ledge so maybe nobody can spot you. And, you know, I didn't check out the sniper rifle information or details when I had one earlier. I did for the silenced sniper rifle, but this is different. It does have different stats. It's got a lot of room to grow, but mostly it's just really good at damage output. You can take a laser sight, but that is it. No silencer, no nothing. Oh, there's number 5. Come on. Alright, gotta be careful about that guy when I'm climbing down here. Also should silence my footfalls when I drop down, because this guy is a little bit too close and can hear you if you jump down too far up.
What the hell was that?
Speaking of which, let's hide in the corner.
Nearing source of disturbance.
We know something. I got a body here. One of ours.
Yep, sure enough, the two near guys have shown up to investigate. How about we take them out, since they're conveniently right next to each other, and apparently I cannot do the double takedown for some reason. Well, luckily I was invisible, so that wasn't a problem. Annoying, but not a problem. Ooh, another EMP grenade. Login password, of course. And yes, that's still the same. I don't know why I didn't remember doing it the first time, but it is still the same. Ooh, ammo capacity. Let's see here. Oh, whatever. Stun gun doesn't take any upgrades either. So, as I was saying, there is one other thing the stun gun can do aside from knocking people out, and that is temporarily disable cameras in a way that does not set off an alarm. It's actually fairly useful. Right, so hacking into here. National Security 59. Just a bunch of random stuff, really. Oh, but they are talking about how FEMA had to evacuate the area just so these mercs could move in for a temporary assignment. Now, as for the last two of you guys. One patrolling the hallway over here, and then one near the front entrance, back where I would have started if I'd started on the first floor. Alright, and that alerted the other guy, so maybe I can lure him in.
Shit! What a mess! What happened here?
That's it. Move on in. Yep, you don't know which way I went. So which way do you think I went?
What kind of mess is this?
Oh, back the way you came. That's not it.
You're going down!
Oh, it's the head spinning trick. That one's fun. Sure I'm not getting ghost for this section though, that's for sure. But yeah, that's everybody dead, so let's have a look around. Explore the area. Now, of course, first things first, this is the security room, and all of the security stations have the same password that was on the Ezekiel pocket computer. And that's kind of weird, because that's actually a map of our destination, not of the area we are in currently. Alright, and here's the front entrance. And these are the stairs to get to where I started. And this is a way to bypass some of the people around here. It's not that good of a bypass, though. Mostly just bypasses you around the security station, which is kind of counterproductive. Anyway, actually all of the doors and lasers use the same code because of the guests at the compound. They wanted to keep things simple. Well, that kind of worked against them in this case. Can't get in there, by the way. But yes, this is the side entrance. So that's 3 for 3. Nothing behind these crates, unfortunately. Nor these crates. But they can let you get on top of the cages around here without using super jump. And yeah, this is a secret FEMA internment camp. As such, this is the front entrance processing area. People go into these cages and are led down into the depths below. Because, remember kids, this is Deus Ex, and all of the craziest people are the ones who are correct. Right, there's one side area here, storage room of sorts. And it's important because of this little grate here. They may have seen a vent back on the top floor. This is where it leads. Yep, and here's your evidence. Alright. But yeah, if you can get into that particular grate, you can get right down to the elevator, which is where we need to go. Like so. It pops you right underneath the camera, too. Or, well, across from the camera. But still, it's not necessarily looking your way, even if you don't turn it off. But yeah, this is where the processing ends. Interesting advice they have here planned for the people who will be interned. But yes, we're done upstairs, so let's see what else this facility has to offer. Aside from a giant FEMA sign on the floor. They really want people to know who built this bunker.
Richard, patch me to Sarif. We may have a problem here.
Wonderful.
Adam, talk to me.
This factory, where the hacker's signal originated, it's got FEMA signs all over it. I think it's some kind of internment camp.
FEMA? That's impossible. Half of our contracts are government issue.
I know. But the soldiers who attacked us are here. And from the looks of it, they've got access to some pretty impressive equipment.
I better make some calls. Find out who's giving the orders and get back to me.
Oh, I hope this isn't my floor. Oh, good. Ah, here we are. Only a couple of guards on this floor. Detention block D. This is also the only one with a door, oddly enough. Go figure. Ah, yes. The time has finally come to visit AV Corner to take a look at the movie that probably had the single biggest impact on human revolution. Barring Deus Ex itself, that is. That's right. The time has come for the tale of a man in Detroit almost killed by bad guys, but then resurrected by cybernetic augmentation. The time has come for RoboCop. The story about the story. The idea of RoboCop began when two guys in Hollywood, Edward Neumeier and Michael Miner, decided to collaborate on an original script. One of them wanted to write a story about a robot cop, and one of them wanted to write a story about a cop who gets injured and uses special appliances to become a superhero. So they compromised, and wrote a story about a cop who gets injured and turns into a robot. The two went on to pitch their story to Orion Pictures, which accepted it thanks in large part to their recent success with the original Terminator. However, they weren't as successful at bringing in a director. The script came off as a sci-fi exploitation flick, and the name, RoboCop, didn't help matters at all. At one point, one of the Orion producers decided to give it to the Dutch director Paul Verhoeven, since he was in LA and working with them for the film Flesh and Blood. At first, Verhoeven didn't like it either, but then his wife had a look at it and pointed out that the script had a lot more layers than Verhoeven was giving it credit for. So, even though he had never directed a sci-fi movie before, he decided to give this movie a shot. For the title role of RoboCop, the filmmakers considered Michael Ironside, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and a few others, but they ultimately decided against them since the giant RoboCop suit would add a lot of mass and look ridiculous on a big actor. So instead, they went with Peter Weller, a somewhat scrawny guy who got their attention thanks to his performance in the cult sci-fi satire, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. For the most part, the other principal actors were cast against type. The lead female role, Officer Anne Lewis, went to Nancy Allen, who was most famous at that point for playing the girl who dumps pig's blood on Carrie. The main villain, Dick Jones, was portrayed by Ronnie Cox, who usually played easygoing nice guys, salt-of-the-earth types. The man who plays the RoboCop project lead, Miguel Ferrer, didn't have any major roles before this movie, but he was apparently so charismatic as a selfish, yuppie asshole that they rewrote the script to make him more likable. An interesting note about the location is that while the movie is set in Detroit, the filming was all done in Dallas, Texas. Evidently, while Detroit had plenty of urban blight to film in, the city lacked a futuristic skyline to contrast against it. And, unfortunately, they decided to do the filming in summer, and while West Texas is a desert, East Texas is a humid hothouse, like the rest of the South. As a result, the cast and crew were just as hot, sweaty, and miserable as the crew of the Blade Runner shoot. Speaking of miserable, perfecting the RoboCop suit was a major hurdle for the production crew. The lead designer, Rob Bottin, spent months sculpting full-size clay models for the suit, and inspiration sources included the robot from Metropolis, superhero costumes, Japanese robots, and, of course, the giant American cars coming off the assembly lines in mid-80s Detroit. Bottin also wanted to make everything as sleek and smooth as possible, but ultimately it was infeasible for what they could do with fiberglass molds at the time. Unfortunately, all that time spent tweaking the design meant that the suit only reached the set on the day that filming was supposed to begin. This was a problem for several reasons. In the first place, putting on the suit for the first time took 11 hours of customizing parts and adjusting straps, and once it was on, Weller had no idea how to move around in it and make it look convincing. As such, filming stopped for 3 days so he could get used to the suit. On the bright side, RoboCop would not become yet another cult film when it was released in 1987. With a domestic box office take of $53 million, RoboCop made back 4 times its budget. And, much like Terminator 2, the film would remain memorable throughout the following decades, not just because of its action, but because it's secretly a social satire dressed up to look like a sci-fi action flick. But that'll become obvious once we begin the story. The movie begins with a spoof news program that's more interested in sound bites than in thoughtful discussions of the news. There are also several spoof commercials throughout the film, but for brevity's sake, I'll just say they exist and move on. Anyway, The newscasters mention that the police of Detroit are dying thanks to gang violence, something their union blames on Omni Consumer Products, OCP, which has recently decided to fund the city's police department. During the news spot, we are introduced to Dick Jones, division head of OCP, and Clarence Boddicker, the crime boss of Old Detroit. After the news ends, the movie heads to the Metro West Police Precinct. Officer Alex Murphy is a recent transfer, and his partner is Officer Ann Lewis, who introduces herself by beating the snot out of an uncooperative suspect. Meanwhile, some OCP executives, led by Bob Morton, head up to a meeting with the CEO, known affectionately as the Old Man. On the way in, they explain that Dick Jones is in charge of a flailing ED-209 project, and Morton got assigned a backup plan to light a fire under Jones's ass. Sure enough, after the meeting starts, Jones trots out the ED-209, a chicken-walking robot designed to be the next stage of law enforcement and military technology. Until, that is, it malfunctions and turns the poor guy who was supposed to demonstrate it into chunky salsa. Sensing an opportunity, Morton asks the Old Man to reassign priority to his RoboCop project, which involves transferring high-performing cops to the deadliest precincts in Detroit. Sure enough, Murphy is one such cop, and he shows off a gun-spinning trick for Lewis, which he learned to impress his son. Soon enough, Murphy and Lewis get a call and start chasing a getaway van crewed by the crime boss Boddicker himself. They follow the van to an abandoned factory, go in separately before backup can arrive, and while one criminal surprises and knocks out Lewis, the rest ambush Murphy and shoot him into chunky salsa, taking particular care to blow off his hand with a shotgun and then finish him off with a bullet to the head. And just so you know, this scene was originally so gory that they had to tone it down to get an R rating. Murphy heads straight for the hospital, but of course there's no real coming back from that, and he dies on the operating table. But of course that's not the end. Morton and his team get Murphy's body, and through the course of a first-person montage, they blank his memory, chop off his few remaining limbs, and turn him into RoboCop. Eventually, the time comes to bring RoboCop into the precinct, where he absolutely stuns the other officers. As the OCP researchers run him through setup, RoboCop names his 3 prime directives: serve the public trust, protect the innocent, and uphold the law. He also has a 4th directive, but that's classified. When he heads to the firing range, the officers gawk at his oversized automatic pistol, but when he gives it a spin before putting it away, Lewis starts to suspect that Murphy might be underneath all that polished titanium. RoboCop goes out on patrol and does some of the usual superhero introduction tropes. He stops a convenience store robbery, he shoots a crazy rapist straight out of A Clockwork Orange in the dick, and when a former city council member takes the mayor hostage, he grabs him through a wall and punches him out a window. Some weeks pass, and RoboCop's success has made Morton a vice president. We see him bragging about getting one over on Jones as he enjoys the executive washroom, but it turns out that Jones was listening, and let's just say he's pissed. Back with RoboCop, he's started dreaming about his death. Turns out they didn't completely wipe his memory after all. RoboCop heads out on patrol to take his mind off the dream, but on his way out, Lewis confronts him about being Murphy. This panics the OCP researchers, who don't know what's going on. RoboCop goes on to spot a gas station robbery in progress, and the perpetrator turns out to be one of the gangsters who killed Murphy. When RoboCop goes on to say something that he said when he was Murphy, the guy freaks out, shoots at him, and winds up exploding the gas station. RoboCop brings the guy in anyway, but after everything that's happened, he decides to visit the precinct records department and check the criminal's record. This gets him the man's known accomplices, including Boddicker, and lets him know about Alex Murphy's death. He then gets his old address and heads over. The home is for sale now since his wife and kid moved out after he died, but he has a bunch of flashbacks to Murphy's idyllic life. RoboCop then heads to an extremely 80s nightclub to arrest Leon Nash and find Boddicker. But as it turns out, Boddicker is busy on a job, killing Morton at Jones's request. The next day, Boddicker is trying to expand into the cocaine market, but then RoboCop bursts into the factory, issues a warning, and then just starts blasting everybody in sight. Boddicker is the last man standing, and so RoboCop starts tossing him through windows until he eventually shouts that he knows Dick Jones and shouldn't be arrested. But RoboCop doesn't stop trying to kill him until the gang boss reminds him that he's an officer of the law. After dropping Boddicker off at the precinct, RoboCop heads for OCP HQ to arrest Dick Jones. But this is when that hidden fourth directive comes into play. He may not arrest an executive officer of OCP. Jones then sics ED-209 on RoboCop, and while small arms fire only scratched his armor, ED-209's anti-vehicle weapons are able to do some real damage. It's not enough to kill him though. When RoboCop escapes down the stairwell, we see another one of the robot's design flaws. Its legs are too big to let it walk downstairs. After he gets away from ED-209, RoboCop runs into a line of police officers and OCP security who fire on him in the garage, although some of the cops refuse to fire. The sustained barrage on RoboCop's weakened armor manages to deal some real damage, until he happens across Lewis, who helps him escape. The next morning, Jones meets with Boddicker, asking him to kill RoboCop before he can give his recorded memory to the police. Boddicker doesn't want to at first, but Jones talks him into it and supplies him with a tracking device and a few anti-material rifles. Later on, Lewis brings some supplies to RoboCop, who's hiding out in the abandoned steel mill from before. She was able to walk right into the precinct building because the police are all about to go on strike. RoboCop uses a drill to remove his helmet, and we get our first good look at Murphy since he got put back together. After some more Clockwork Orange level anarchy, Boddicker's gang follows the tracker to Murphy. A firefight ensues, one guy gets melted to shit by some toxic waste, and Boddicker ends up in a ditch. Lewis gets shot but manages to kill Boddicker's last remaining henchman, but not before he dumps a load of steel on Murphy. Boddicker then stabs Murphy in the chest, and so Murphy stabs him in the neck. Turns out, all that damage still wasn't enough to stop a cyborg, and neither is the ED-209 guarding the OCP door, which, as it turns out, is very vulnerable to anti-material rifle rounds. Quite calmly, Murphy bursts into a boardroom meeting and accuses Dick Jones of murder, and he plays the recording of their earlier confrontation on the wall monitors to prove it. Jones grabs a gun and holds the old man hostage, demanding a helicopter. However, Murphy told them about his fourth directive, and so the old man fires Jones on the spot, giving Murphy the clearance to shoot Jones out the window. The last words of the film are these: "Nice shooting, son. What's your name?" "Murphy." Oh, but there is one little thing at the end of the credits you should see. Yeah, that's the stuff. The analysis. As Mrs. Verhoeven noted, RoboCop is a movie with a lot of layers. So let's go through a few of them, one by one. The surface layer is easy enough to understand. It's a feel-good story about a blue-collar police officer attacked on all sides by criminals, by corporations, and at one point even his fellow officers. Even his own damaged mind is an enemy. But he fights on. He doesn't compromise or give in. And in the end, he prevails. Just under the surface is the inevitable Christ allegory that always pops up whenever a protagonist dies but comes back. Still, in this case at least, the allegory is entirely intentional. The bad guys blowing off Murphy's hand is a reference to the stigmata, and when RoboCop fights Boddicker in the ditch, there's a moment where he appears to be walking on water. As Verhoeven himself puts it, RoboCop is an American Jesus, hence why he has a gun and he enforces the law. And that brings me to the much more intricate social commentary layer. RoboCop basically needed the cast and crew it had to become the movie it was. Paul Verhoeven is a foreigner in America, and when he signed on for RoboCop, he had spent just enough time in the United States to get a feel for our culture without absorbing any of it. So while the script was a collaboration of two Americans, the movie satirizes things that made 1980s America different from the rest of the world. The gun culture and the good guy, bad guy dichotomy, which is rarely as cut and dried as we think it is. A love of giant gas-guzzling cars. An obsession with nuclear war. Corporatized healthcare. Police officers who wear thick body armor and act like they're waging war against their communities instead of protecting them. Privatization. The yuppie life of backstabbing and hedonism. Urban decay and corporate renewal projects. News stations obsessed with sound bites. The list goes on. You want to know why everyone always seems to say RoboCop is more relevant now than ever before? You want to know why people said that in the 90s, in the aughts, and in the teens, and why they're going to say that 10 years and 20 years in the future? It's because American culture remains the same as it ever was. Some aspects of it have faded, but others have intensified. So as long as America remains a nation, we will always be living in a RoboCop future. Now, let's move on to a couple particular points. First, the violence and gore. Apparently, the bloody deaths and the fact that RoboCop almost got an X rating for violence was all courtesy of the director. In an interview, he explained that he's actually somewhat disgusted with other movies that don't show gore when someone gets shot, that only do that falling over routine, or at most put a tiny packet of fake blood on a squib. Verhoeven wanted to show people the actual harm that a bullet wound can do, and at the same time, he wanted to make the violence as over the top and as comical as possible. In essence, he was calling out the action movies of the 70s and 80s and exaggerating for comedy at the same time. And then there's the movie's take on corporations, which I thought was remarkably even-handed for a movie in which the bad guys are so evil they barely qualify as caricatures. OCP definitely has its problems, chief among them the fact that they let a guy like Dick Jones reach the number 2 spot. After all, the corporate structure doesn't reward managers for having a love of the products, for caring about the employees or the customers, nor for having a long-term vision of the future. It rewards managers who have a love of making money, who care about backstabbing anybody who gets in their way, and who are prepared to sink the company's long-term outlook in exchange for short-term profits. All of this toxic culture is on full display in RoboCop, and yet only one of the OCP's executives is outright evil. Morton is your typical greed is good yuppie hedonist, but he's also an actually good manager who consistently makes good calls and maintains both the friendship and the loyalty of the people beneath him. The old man of OCP seems like a decent enough guy, and his only real sin is spending too much time on his pet project and putting too much trust in untrustworthy people. If RoboCop is saying anything about corporations, it's that the problem doesn't lie with bad guys or a conspiratorial cabal at the top. The problem is that they create a culture that encourages as few scruples as possible and tries to gather as much power as it is possible to get. They can be good, they can be evil, they can be both at the same time. It all depends on who's in charge and what they're doing. Thanks for joining me again in AV Corner. I hope I'll see you next time for a Science Corner about cybersecurity.